I remember that he was tall and slim. None of the men were heavy set, but Adolf was tall, and Carl Ernst, on the other hand, was quite short. I would say he probably was not more than 5 feet, or very little more than that. But see, I remember seeing them when I was a child. The last reunion I went to, I took my second husband, and I remember that he came home with a little gift for being the oldest one there. No, I went too far. What am I doing? That's not what I want to do. I think, and I'm not positive, but I think that this is the daughter of my grandmother's sister. So was her niece, who came with her brothers, with at least 2 brothers. Eventually there were 3 brothers who immigrated, but they brought her here to live with my grandmother at the age of 3. And she lived there until she was 17, when my grandfather thought that she ought to have a visit with her mother, and sent her back to Germany to her mother. She intended to come back to Texas, but fate intervened. She died. The World War II caught her there, and she died during World War II. And where she was living was either in Dresden or in that area. We at one point thought that she had died in the bombing of Dresden, but we learned when we were there that she did not. That was not the case. At any rate, it was during that time that she died. I think this was her husband. That's as much as I can say about her. Her name was Helen. Helen. This is the Gross Postwitz area, and here's the church. Now, we went there twice. Went there in 1882, and I went there again in 1887 while I was visiting the Gnostics. That I went into this church for a church service with some relatives. Didn't get into any homes around here, but this is the area, and it's very, very pretty. I wish we had a color picture of it, because that didn't exist in those days. It's hard to say when this was taken, but it's definitely Gross Postwitz that's down here. And
that looks like it came from a postcard.
This hill up here, was this, I don't know where this arrow got on here. Is that in this thing, or is it on the picture? Oh, all right. This, I think, is the name they've given to a mountain up here. You see how the land is divided. You know, one person, generally when the father in the family died, and the land is divided and down to a certain point, whatever. But there are many smaller fields. But somehow you see, with everything being for housing, you know, being more or less crowded together, they've left room in their land for a lot of beautiful mountain area, forest area, fields. It's amazing. But the reason for so many people leaving is when there are too many people on the land, they'll look for some other place to settle. I'm afraid we're covering too much of our land. Goodness knows we have a lot of land that couldn't build a house on. So, what do we do? I don't know. I don't know this child, but this comes from Boston, so it's some part of this family. That's an unusual
again, this
garment.
is Bautzen is where the Swartz were from.
Yes, and this little community down here. Sometime you ought to go down there. I ought to take you down there if you want to.
Which community is this?
Servin. It's not too terribly far from here. It's off. It's between Highway 290. You know, it goes from Austin to Houston. Well, south of that, you have a number of small communities, all German settled. Many of them, most of them. And then you have LaGrange. So between LaGrange and 290 is where this Servin is. And if you've heard of Round Top, that's another one that's there. And Fayetteville is another. A lot of, it's a pretty part of the country too. It has, some people from Houston have moved up in that area too to get their homes there, out from the big city. But there is a very interesting church there that was built, really I've forgotten it, if I can think of the year that they're supposed to have immigrated. It is something in the middle 1800s, I think. Anyway, there's about 150 people immigrated at once with a pastor from Boston. That history is all there, and they have a little historic museum that has been put there since I know about it. First time I went there was Bob Robinson took me there. This is a pretty young woman. I have no idea who she is, but I've seen those. See this photographer's name is Oscar Meister. And this is another one from the same photographer. This there peasant costume, does that look almost like the same woman?
Beautiful outfits.
If you look at her face, and they look a lot alike. I think she's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I have some, now, whichever one this was that served in the military. I don't recognize him in particular, I'm not sure.